एक मिनिस्टर की जिद की वजह से।
पेट्रोल के अंदर एथेनॉल की मिलावट करके भारत
आजकल इथेनॉल ब्लेंडिंग पे बहुत भसड़ मची हुई।
E20 फ्यूल से आपकी गाड़ी को क्या
Man, this
प्रॉब्लम होता है?
E20 thing is spreading like a wildfire. Let's learn more about it. Hey everyone, I'm Simarjeet Singh and I welcome you all to a new video on this channel. This video is going to be about a very hot topic which is currently spreading like a wildfire in India. And yes, I'm talking about the E20 blended fuel that is being mandated by the government to be supplied to the each and every consumer in India. So what exactly E20 is? In this video, I will cover about everything from A to Z, the pros and cons and everything in between, so that after this video, you will not have to watch any other video to clear any of your doubts regarding the E20 fuel. So let's get started. In this video, I have my iPad over here with me so that I do not miss out on any points, and I will be reading a few pointers from the notes that I have made so that I do not miss out anything. This video I will basically divide it into three parts. The first is I will explain what exactly ethanol fuel is, how it's made, and second part will be the pros and cons of using E20 fuel in your car, whether your car is compatible with the E20 fuel or not. And the third one, if the E20 is really that bad, how can you prevent the damage that it does to your vehicle? So let's learn more about in this video and start with the first topic. So let's start with the first topic. So first topic basically is what exactly E20 fuel is. So ethanol is basically a byproduct which you get by fermenting the crops like sugarcane and corn. And the ethanol is basically, you can say, alcoholish fuel that can be used for combustion. So making of ethanol is not that easy. It is basically a very industrial heavy process which goes basically the crop goes from various you can say processes to basically extract out ethanol from it. Earlier in the overseas countries, in the European countries, corn was the main crop that was used for making ethanol. But in India, we are using both the corn and the sugarcane. So basically, in a nutshell, if you ask me that whether it is a good thing or a bad thing, well, it is slightly in the middle. It is a good thing for the farmers because they can now grow more sugarcane and more corn and sell it to the suppliers to make ethanol. But it is a bad thing because if you rely solely on making mechanical fuel for your vehicles and your other things, the soil nutrients will slowly deplete over time. And the crops that you need to grow for your daily survival, like wheat and other things, they will not be able to harvest at that good quality. And that is where it is not a good thing and also not a bad thing. The right thing is to find a middle ground to this so that you're not depleting the nutrients of the soil by only growing single crop, but also not solely relying on the crude oil to make the fuel. So now that is basically what ethanol is and how it's made. Now let's talk about the main thing, which is the pros and cons about why ethanol is a good thing or a bad thing. So let's learn more about it. Now coming on to the part 2 of this video, let's talk about why ethanol blended fuel should not be your primary choice of fuel while putting it in your car or your bike. Well, if your car or your bike is manufactured before 2023, there is a high possibility that your car or your bike is not E20 compliant. And if now this doesn't needs to be you doesn't need to be a genius to understand this. If you're putting something in your car or your bike which is not compliant with the manufacturer's recommendation, you're basically ruining your car or your bike. Now that is exactly why it has been spreading like a wildfire in India currently, and everyone is resisting E20 fuel. Now, why it is a major thing? Because first thing you need to understand, ethanol is a hydrophilic agent to moisture in the air or even in the water, and it will attract water. Now, water being heavier than the oil or the fuel, it will settle lower on the fuel tank. And after 2 to 3 months, when you try to crank up your car, there is a high possibility that all of your fuel lines will be clogged up by moisture, and it will over the period of time start to corrode, because on the very first crank, what is coming onto the cylinder heads, it's only water. And you do not need to be a genius to understand this, that water and metal do not are basically not good friends. So when the moisture hits the cylinder heads, and if the manufacturer has not made the cylinder heads metallurgically in such a way that it is able to handle the moisture from the E20 fuel, over the period of time, the cylinder heads, the overall fuel components in your car will start to deteriorate and develop corrosion. Now, what that means is hefty repair bills. Now, coming on to the second point, which is a very major point, which is I don't think anyone talking about. Ethanol has a less energy coefficient than petrol. So what that basically means is, let's say you fill your car with 10 liters of pure petrol. When you try to start up your car, the amount of time, or you can say the time that your car will take to crank up on the first crank, will be very much less if you put you can say pure petrol in your car. But let's say if you are putting 20% ethanol blended fuel in your car, the crank up time will increase. Now what that basically means is there will be more load on the battery, and over the period of time your battery will also start to deteriorate. Now I don't understand how this is a good thing, and why government is pushing everyone to put E20 fuel into their car. And now primarily I think it is not a problem to mandate E20 fuel overall India, across India. But the problem is not giving the choice to the end consumer. If they want to, let's say, put 100% pure petrol into their car, which is XP100 or XP95, they are not given that choice. XP95, or you can say the normal petrol that you get at your fuel stations, is blended with 20% ethanol. So whether you are paying more money to get XP95 into your car, you are basically putting normal petrol in your car with basically some more additives, which will try to help minimize the effects that are caused by the ethanol blended fuel. But overall, you are paying more for the same thing. So I don't understand why this is a good thing. Now coming on to the main point, which I think is very important, is ethanol is less energy coefficient than petrol, pure petrol basically. So what that basically means is, let's say my car over here makes 100 horsepower, and in the ideal condition, let's say it is getting 14:1 air fuel mixture ratio, the air is flowing into the combustion chamber properly, and the right amount of fuel that is tuned by the ECU of this car is being supplied to the cylinder head or the combustion chamber, the car will make 100 horsepower. Now every modern day vehicle comes with adaptability into the ECU. Now what that means is, ECU wants the machine to make the most amount of power in the every scenario that you put into your car. Now what that basically means is, if you are putting 100 ml, or sorry, if you are putting pure petrol into your car will be making 100 horsepower much more easily with lesser amount of fuel. But let's say if you are putting E20 fuel into your car will now have to inject more fuel into the combustion chamber, because the amount of energy that is produced by the ethanol blended fuel is very less. So basically the car wants to make 100 horsepower, but it is not getting the right amount of fuel into the combustion chamber. So what it will do to compensate that, it will basically pour out more fuel air mixture into the combustion chamber to try to make 100 horsepower in the most ideal scenario, which in return will lower down your overall gas mileage. Again, you do not have to be a genius to understand this, but I don't think this is a good decision, or this is a right kind of scenario that you're putting your vehicle into, and I don't think so it is a good thing. Now, finally, let's address the elephant in the room, which is exactly why people are going bonkers on the internet, and why it is a big deal. Because you should not let the government that you have elected to push and mandate anything and everything onto the end consumer without listening to the end consumer. And why it is not a good thing when it comes to the E20 blended fuel. Well, the first thing is, the manufacturer has written clearly that the car or your bike that you're riding or driving is not E20 compliant. Now let's assume if you are only getting the E20 fuel for your car or your bike and you are forced to put E20 fuel into your car, then in that case, if over the period of time, let's say the rubber lines or whatever is there, the O-rings and everything start to deteriorate or corrode, in that case you will not be able to claim warranty. Now what that means is basically you are forced to use bad quality of fuel. Secondly, you are forced to put the bad quality of fuel in your car without being recommended by the manufacturer. And third, if any damage occurs on your bike or car, you will have to pay expensive from your pocket. Now how is that a good thing? Now let's talk about insurance. We all get insurance done on your car. We all pay road tax and everything when we buy a car or a bike. But now what is happening is the insurance companies are also not covering any damage that is done to your bike or car by putting bad fuel into your car. So basically insurance companies are saying this: if you're putting bad fuel into your car which is not recommended by the manufacturer, why would we give you warranty or insurance claims? Again, all the repair costs that will have to happen on your car or your bike will be spent from your pocket. Now you do not have to be a genius again to understand that overall from the very starting till the very end, it is the end user or you who are getting hit by the new mandate that is being forced by the government onto the end user. Now, personally, I think the only way around this is to firstly add more additives into your car or your bike from counter shelves. Basically, you can add injector cleaners, or you can even add the 2T mix petrol into your car or your bike. Now, do not take my word on it. It is something that I've been doing on my bike and car over the very long period of time, because petrol in itself has some lubrication and cooling properties, but ethanol on the other hand does not have that. Ethanol is a very abrasive component, but when you add some amount of lubrication into your overall petrol tank, let's say it is a 2T mix oil, or let's say it is something a premix that is specifically designed for 4-stroke vehicles, in that case you are adding the lubrication qualities back into your fuel system and it will cause less damage. Now, to close off this video, I would only like to point out one more thing, is that you should take the regular maintenance of your bike or your car very seriously, and you should do regular checkups on your car or your bike, because you will never know when will that date come when you are getting ready to head over for a long drive. You go down, you try to start your car and your car is not starting, and you find out there is a like big puddle underneath your car. Why? Because the rubber lines corroded and they started leaking. Well, there is no other way around it to get it fixed by your own pocket, and no one will be able to help you, not even the manufacturer of the car, the insurance, the road tax collecting authorities, and even the government. So at the end of the day, the one who is taking the hit is you, your car and your pocket. I hope you learned something from this video. If you did, you know the drill. A like to the video will be appreciated. A subscribe to the channel will be loved. And now it is getting very dark, so I'm gonna head back into the car, head back home, edit this video and put it for all of you. If you found this video informative, do share it with your friends and family and make them aware about the disadvantages, or the, you can say, the bad effects that can happen to their vehicle because of the E20 fuel that they are getting from the petrol stations, even if they are going for the XP95 petrol. Don't go for that. Don't pay more money. You're basically wasting your money. But if that satisfies you psychologically, then go for it. But at the end of the day, I would suggest you to keep your car and your bike well maintained, and do regular checkups, and also add some additives to your fuel every 5 to 10 tanks. With that said, let's close this video on a very positive note again, and I will see you in the next one. Let nothing hold you back in life, and always keep moving forward. I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.
Last but not least, I want to thank me.